you, everyone. I'm very honored to be here. And I want to practice one of the things that we teach our entrepreneurs, and that is to start with why you exist in the first place. So I want to bring back someone that you met a little earlier today, if we can do that. And there was a character, for those who were here this morning, there was a very powerful video and a very powerful moment that we caught and we experienced as a group of human beings today. And there was a palpable and deafening silence after this video showed. And if you weren't here in the room, it's a very short story about a year in the life from hope to despair. The final frame was despair. And so what I want to do is convey what MassChallenge does in the frame of the next chapter in this story. So if you'll indulge me, I want to name this character. Her name is Emily. And I want to give you a vision of the future of Emily. While she's dealing with immense despair and struggle right now in Syria, she finds a way over the next 8 to 10 years to develop a huge and deep passion for science and education. And she scrapes together resources and opportunities amidst the challenges and the struggles of her day-to-day. And she finds an opportunity to go deep into the science of medicine. And she discovers a therapeutic and a way to identify the early discovery of cancer. Now she's 18, she's 20, maybe she's 22. And she decides to then commercialize this idea, and she wants to put together a team to help her do that. So she finds the best doctors in the world in cancer identification. She actually has a deep experience and passion in technology, so she finds some high-tech friends across the globe. And she launches a business. She becomes an entrepreneur. And in a matter of weeks, not months, not years, she actually launches a medical device that is a wearable device that speaks to other things, and it lets you know as an individual and your care and practice team when the first cell of cancer enters your body. And that's a world-changing device, it's a world-changing solution, and she's a world-changing entrepreneur. That's my version of what Emily did next after that frame in the video. Now, there's a big distance between now and that vision of the future. But the reason that MassChallenge exists is that we believe that there are millions of Emilys out there, and there are millions of Emilys that have great ideas. There are a dozen Da Vincis out there that are waiting to be found. So 5 years ago, we developed a program based on this hypothesis that if we create a platform where the Emilys and the people here in London or people in Boston or anywhere in the world can get the kind of access they need to the resources, the talent, the things, the money, that can help them achieve their impact of their idea, well, then we can change the world. And that's why we exist. And we started that 5 years ago. So our impact 5 years in is this. We've graduated over 600 alumni who have raised over $700 million in funding and nearly $500 million in revenue and created over 5,000 jobs. And that's great impact, but so what? The rest of the world, as you know, and many of your entrepreneurs in the room, know that the world has caught on to entrepreneurship. And some have said, and I can't own this statement, but I rather like it, that entrepreneurs are like the poets and philosophers of this century. Everyone wants to be one or near one, and they're flocking to them. So that creates an interesting dilemma, because our founding story is no longer our future story, because entrepreneurs are everywhere. It's never been easier to start a business. In fact, I was recently in Guadalajara, Mexico, and it's a requirement of graduation to have started your business at Tec de Monterrey in Guadalajara. So creating and starting businesses is very easy. It's that sustainability that we know and we've been talking about as a challenge here and earlier today. And one of my observations for today, being the outsider, is that there's been a lot of conversation about UK-based businesses. So my question, my challenge for you as a group today is, what is a British business? Because if you look at some other examples, and we tend to play in the global startup scene, think about Skype, for example. Of the 7 founders of Skype, they're from 4 different countries. So what if, in that example of Emily, that wearable device was actually developed in Mexico, and the life sciences expert came from the US, and the funding came from the UK, and the manufacturing came from Hong Kong. And that was the founding team of that company. That's the vision that we're seeing. And the path that we're creating to get there is taking us on an interesting road. Because no longer, in my story of Emily, there's no location. I didn't say she was in Syria or here or anywhere else, because location doesn't matter. Great ideas never took geography class. So what that means for London, and specifically our plans, are we're no longer talking about accelerators and incubators, because now we're, and I was told not to mention those words today because they're just kind of passé, they're old, right? We are an accelerator right now. What we aim to create is that cloud level of entrepreneurship, right? We talk about cloud computing all the time. No one ever mentions websites or URLs or things like that, because we're at a different altitude of where we're creating value. And that's what we aim to do at MassChallenge, is to do just that. So specifically in London, we couldn't be more excited. Today, literally this week, we're moving into our location. We've got a team of 8 people on the ground here in London. And we had over 800, we had 802 startups from around the world, from 51 countries, that want to spend time in London this summer for 4 months to experience the MassChallenge Accelerator. So we're right in the midst of judging. So when we bring that 800 down to roughly 80 to 100, so roughly 10% of that 80%, chances are we're going to be accelerating 20 to 30 startups from other countries who want to be accelerated here in London. That's a fascinating concept if you bridge all the components of earlier today and who you want to be as a business and as an ecosystem that supports startups. That what will you do when they come in? How will you interact with them? How will you bring them in to help you create British businesses? And how will the British businesses support them as they grow globally? So that's what we're most excited about. We're just launching our next chapter of our story. This is our first global hub outside of the US. So we couldn't be more excited. And I will tell you right now, there is a version of Emily that's coming to London in June. So when you meet her or meet him, ask about their story, learn about them, talk to them, and help them grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.